Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Adams Rite 1870HM-0-313. This is a cylinder-operated flush bolt is what it is. Different components are in this box, and we're going to go through all of them. Basically, it's a flush bolt is what it is. It happens to be one that is controlled, not with a flip lever, but one controlled generally with a key. It can also be controlled with a thumb turn, which would be very likely to do that. This is going to include the body, it's going to include the rod, it's going to include the faceplate. You'll notice there's nothing there coming out of the edge. Okay. All of the action is going to be this. This might be called a 4016. I'll look up this part number. Is just this whole mechanism moving up and down. It's also going to include fasteners. It's going to include certainly a strike plate, a template, installation instructions, and we're going to look at all of that. So it's going to include a guide for the bottom of the door. You're going to absolutely need that to be installed down in the bottom of the door. So this zinc dichromate plate, this steel plate, you'll never see, because that'll be installed in the bottom of the door. This strike is meant to go, you know, obviously to the sill, whatever you're bolting into. Okay. There we go. This is the non-handed version, and we'll talk about the different variants of this in a moment. So let's take a basic dimensional property of this item. Here we go. HM. It does tip you off that this is going to be 8-inch tall, 1.25 inch wide. That's going to be a typical dimension that you'll find when it comes to mortise block preparations in steel doors. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Let's do a quick demonstration. I just have this might be a Schlage 80-137, just a cylinder that was literally closest. It's got the right cam on it, that's the point, an MS cam, or just what we would very commonly know as an Adams Rite cam. Even though Adams Rite has 3 different cams, the MS cam is the one that's almost always used, but not in all instances, so you do need to be mindful of that. This is the typical amount of trouble that you're going to have threading in a mortise cylinder. They do not always go in without trouble, or without the need to really try to study what's happening. Obviously in the field you can't do that, so I cheated. There you go. Patience is the key with getting mortise cylinders. You don't want to cross-thread anything. And I do find it more difficult when you have a much shorter cylinder. And sometimes what I need to do is insert the key to act as a handle sometimes. Anyway, so it's installed. I just wanted to just perform a small demonstration just so that you can see that this does indeed simply act as a key-operated flush bolt. And I don't have the cylinder exactly where it needs to be. Forgive me. Okay, well anyway, the point is the cylinder's rotating on me ever so slightly. It works just fine. Okay. This can be installed at either the bottom of the door or at the top of the door. And these are used for a very particular reason, and let's talk about that now. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. So where is a key-operated flush bolt used? Well, frankly, it's used to prevent unauthorized action over a door. You don't want someone to be able to unlatch or latch, pardon me, you don't want someone to be able to bolt or unbolt an inactive door in a pair that would either compromise security or compromise safety. And when you add a key cylinder, when you add a cylinder to your flush bolt that you can then incorporate into the keying system in the entire building, you then have full rights and privileges over that opening. That core that I had, I think, again, it was an 80-137. It basically means it's a small format interchangeable core mortar cylinder from Schlage. That was a best type core that was in there. Small format is extremely common in schools. It's extremely common in the United States branches of the military, specifically the Army, has small format everywhere. When people call for service on a small format system, it is very likely one of those two client types. So when you need to control who can do what over a door that takes a flush bolt, like an inactive door, this could suit really well. We're going to switch to the screen view and look at all of the supporting information, but the length of this rod can completely be modified. This is what is called 13.5 inch, the typical size. If you don't specify a size, 13.5 inch is what you're going to get from the center line of the cylinder down to the bottom of the door. Rough, basically, is what that's going to be, 13.5 inch. Okay, this is a 1870, and that means it's 1.25 inch back set. So that's going to be, well, the faceplate's not on there, so it's going to be more like this. Okay, so 1.25 inch back set, 8 inch by 1.25 inch faceplate. Obviously, that was a dark bronze finish. That's 313. You can do this in a 628. You can do it a 335, 313, and a 628. Dark bronze, black, and clear aluminum. All it says there is Adams Rite, just their logo. Okay, pretty simple and straightforward. Let's switch to the screen view now, and let's look at all of the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Break this part number down. It's an 1870 HM. That's a cylinder-operated flush bolt that specifically has the 8 by 1.25 inch wide faceplate. It's a -0 because it's non-handed. That's going to be appropriate for either square edge doors or radius edge doors, which would be extremely uncommon in a hollow metal door, but not unheard of or impossible. They do exist. They can exist. I may have seen only one of those in 30 years. Then the finish, 313, 335, and 628. We talked about that. Then your cylinder dimension, here down to here. That can be anything. Well, it can't be anything, but it can be whatever you need based on commercially available door sizes. The part number, now, designed for greater key control, the 1870 HM cylinder-operated flush bolts prevents locking of the inactive leaf of paired hollow metal doors. May be installed to lock at threshold or at the header. Designed to be used in lieu of the conventional flip lever operated flush bolts. The 1870 cylinder operated flush bolt gives building management key control of the inactive leaf in a pair of doors. Prevents casual locking or unlocking by unauthorized persons. Uses the same basic over-center action mechanism as the MS pivoted bolt lock. So it's basically the same lock body that you'd see in just a deadbolt. 360-degree turn is what it requires to positively lock and unlock the bolt. Accepts any standard 1 in 5/32 mortise cylinder from either or both sides, and must have the MS dimensioned cam. The MS cam is simply looking to, the MS cam simply means it's the typical Adams Rite cam, the one that you see everywhere. So a couple of things. 1 in 5/32 is the diameter. There are 4 diameters of mortise cylinders that I'm familiar with. Only two of them are really builder's hardware. There's a 3/4, well, I suppose there's a peanut cylinder that you would have seen in 1950s and 1960s aluminum storefront, 3/4 inch diameter. The builder's size is 1 in 5/32. That happens to have 32 threads per inch, as does the third size, which is 1.5 inch diameter. And then the fourth size is the 2 inch. We call that a mogul, used generally in detention applications and is not considered builder's hardware. The MS cam is, again, that quite ubiquitous cam. That and the standard cam is going to be really common. It's just the cam that kind of looks like that. Okay. Maybe a little bit bigger here. Faceplate design 0 or 0HM. That's just flat. Oh, there's your MS cam. Okay, moving on. This is the dark bronze 313. 13.5 inch standard cylinder height. Cylinder height is defined as the dimension from the bottom of the door to the center line of the cylinder hole. Refer to the data sheet for graphical representation. This is a cut sheet that we'll go over in a moment. Dimensions. That's a mistake. That should be 1.25 inches. By the time you're seeing this, that will be corrected. 1.25 inches by 8 inch. Basic lock mechanism boxed with actuator arm attached. Rod bolt assembly unattached. Stainless steel bolt guide, mounting screws, installation instructions included. Cylinder cam and cylinder requirements. See cylinders, thumb turns, and trim ring. Should you need those, you're going to need cylinders for this unless you already have them. Let's tackle these documents that are here. Data sheet first. This is the cut sheet out of the manufacturer's catalog. Everything on page 1 we've already discussed, so you can review that at length should you need to. Let's just look at some dimensions. Showing us a hollow metal door, really. 8 inch by 1.25 inch faceplate. The position of the cylinder is 1 7/8 off of the center line of the mortise pocket, above the center line of the mortise pocket. Let's take a look. Yeah. So this doodad here, the actuator arm is what that's called. That is actually the 22-0282 as seen here. When you're doing like 2 or 3 point latching with an MS bolt, this will be one of the items that you'd need to provide that sort of latching. Obviously your threaded rod, that's just going to be 1/4 is all that is. Your bolt head. So the bottom line is, should you need to change 13.5 to something else, let's say you didn't want to bend over so far to unlock the flush bolt, you could just get a piece of threaded rod and cut it to length. All the other dimensions are here. Prepping it would be very simple and straightforward. You basically need a mortise edge, or what we'd call an 86 edge, typical hollow metal prep, or wood door prep for that matter, for a mortise pocket, a full-size mortise pocket. Dimensions about where the bottom bolt guide will go in the bottom of the door, and then down into the sill. You may or may not be using the included strike. I had mentioned earlier that we would talk about the -0. That's a flat faceplate. If you have a left hand, if you require a left hand bevel, it'd be a -5. If you need to do right hand, it's going to be a -6. Imagine this as attached. Imagine, let's pretend we're looking at it this way. Sorry, oh, here we go. So if your door extended out here, this would be a left hand. If your door Well, we'd have to flip it around 180 degrees. If your door extended out here, this would be a right hand. The wide side of the door is the pull side, the wider or the wide side of the door. All right, that is what I would call the cut sheet. Let's take a look at the installation guide. This is, you know, all the data is, we've already looked at it in the cut sheet. This is very simple and straightforward type of work in the sense that almost everything you need to know is here. You know, you need a 8 1/64 by 1 17/64 preparation. What they don't tell you is the depth of that, and I'm going to say that it's 7/32 of an inch. I don't see that here, showing flat or beveled door edges. A typical mortise pocket's going to be 7/32, 7/32, which is just shy on a 1/4 inch. They're saying that the thickness of the faceplate itself is 1/4 inch, so you might want to adapt that accordingly. Let me put my caliper on the actual hardware. A typical mortise pocket depth, faceplate depth, is going to be 7/32. That's right out of a catalog. My caliper is telling me that the thickness of this is 0.242. So yeah, you're going to want a little bit deeper prep. That's for sure, because that includes the faceplate there as well. You're definitely going to want a deeper faceplate. Actually, forgive me, I measured that incorrectly. I'm saying the words and they don't match the logic I'm thinking. Yeah. 0.24, pardon me, 0.253 is what the faceplate and this portion all measure. So you'll need greater than 7/32. You're going to need like 9/32 would be my guess for the depth of the mortise pocket. I'm surprised it's not here. It ought to be, unless it's here and I'm just missing it, which is very likely. Okay, installation guide is what we called that. Now we have how to order. That's just going to be out of the cut sheet again. That's at the bottom of the cut sheet. You're doing a 187. You're either doing a flat or a beveled. So it's either an 1870 or an 1872. Always HM. If you're doing an 1870 HM, it'll be -0, then dash your finish. Or your beveled doors, either a left hand, and this is always the door that you're attaching it to. So if you have a right hand active pair of doors, this is going to be a left hand. You'd have to order this a -5. This is a reference to the door that you're actually attaching it to. Now, there is a link below this video as seen here to the manufacturer's page within our site. And from here you can review not only all of the Adams Rite products we sell by means of that horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog right there. And then encyclopedic documents are kept on this page as well. Prior versions of the catalog, any interesting templates or cut sheets or parts drawings. I would mention there is a parts manual that's right here. This does not have everything in it possibly that Adams Rite has. It's just everything that's published in terms of parts drawings. Oh, this lock, I think it's a 2331. This is an example. Maybe it's not. I was thinking that was an example of a Adams Rite lock that did not take the MS cam. I thought it took a shortened version of the standard cam. Yeah, that's true. The 2331 takes a standard cam, not the MS cam. Yeah, see? The 2331 does not take an MS cam. It takes this specific cam. That's another one of the 3 that they have. It's a shortened version of a typical Yale. When I say Yale, I mean 1930s Yale standard cam. Anyway, let's wrap up this video. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Now, before we go getting ahead of ourselves, we really have to think about what this is for. This is for a hollow metal door, is what this is for. If you try to install this onto a wood door, you're probably going to get to the point with that Rubik's Cube where you're going to be peeling decals off just to get the answer that you need. When it comes to wood doors, yeah, the 1870 HM, that's for hollow metal doors. There's an 1870, which is for aluminum doors. Now, bear with me. Yeah, so if you have a wood door, the 1870 is not right, or the 1872. The one you need is the 1877. I didn't remember the part number, and I needed to look at it before I quoted it. The bottom line is, when you look at this, sometimes there's hardware for metal doors that you can actually make work on a wood door, but that's not ever the best option if wood door hardware exists. But this is just not right at all. Even if you were building the door from scratch, where you could take the stiles and manipulate them on a router table to allow for the actuator to get through there, I severely doubt that you'd be able to actually push that in. So at the end of the day, you'd end up having to bend this thing, and it wouldn't work. The 1877 would be the proper cylinder-operated flush bolt. And basically, the only difference is the problem is getting the actuator in the wood door prep. The 1877 is the same bolt, except that its faceplate goes all the way down to the bottom of the door. That allows you to get in there with a router and route that entire part of the door, because you're then going to cover it with something like this that's going to be, you know, 15 5/8 long, because it's going to cover from up here all the way down to the bottom of the door. Once you have that, yeah, you can take your router, you can just route all of that. That's not a big deal. That's just woodworking. But the 1877 would be the one that you would end up going to. Typical and straightforward material. The people who buy cylinder-operated flush bolts, I have a client with a pair of doors, and his problem is that he is having trouble with someone leaving his inactive door unsecured. Someone's manipulating the flush bolts that are there. So this client literally installed cylinder-operated flush bolts. Took some rework, but nonetheless, he was able to do it. The other people who are ordering these are, well, the 1877 anyway, are high-end woodworkers and mill workers, people that are creating custom high-end woodwork that you're going to see in retail spaces, whether it be retail or corporate or any type, or residential, any environment where the need for architectural hardware and wood applications is necessary. So the idea of the Adams Rite catalog that I just mentioned is not only is the hardware that you're looking for possibly in there, but that catalog is unique in the sense that I often use it as a picture book or an idea book. How can I solve this problem? Sometimes flipping through the Adams Rite catalog allows me to look for some piece of hardware that I can forcefully hybrid into something else, or cannibalize, or force to make work, or manipulate to make work, or evolve to make work. So their catalog is really handy. That parts list that I had drawn your attention to, my only regret about that is that it's not complete. Not everything, again, in the Adams Rite product line is there. only what's published. So if you have any questions on the 1870 HM-0-313 cylinder-operated flushbolt or any other Adams Rite product, please feel free to reach out to us, and thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.